One of the most commonly asked questions people who live with an invisible illness hear is, how can you look good if your sick student whose illness makes her sleep 20 hours a day gets sleeping beauty tattoo? While it's flattering to hear that someone thinks you look nice, it's also pretty annoying for it to be assumed that just because you're unwell on the inside means you have to look it on the outside. The issue with having an invisible illness is just that, it's invisible. This means that often you have to explain your symptoms to people and convince them that they're real just for them to believe you, for them not to think you're just making it up. Honestly, it'd be pretty easy to just not wear makeup to show off your dark circles from dealing with awful fatigue. It'd be great to live in tracksuit bottoms to display your swollen, cramping stomach. And it'd be fine to go weeks without washing your hair simply because you don't have any energy. Because, if you did all of the above, perhaps people would believe you straight away when you say you're sick, instead of questioning you as if you're doing something awful. The bottom line is, people living with invisible illnesses shouldn't have to stop caring about their appearance in order for people to believe they're not healthy. It's not a rule for them to display all of their internal symptoms on the outside just for someone else's clarity. While many choose not to focus on their appearance, which is totally fine, others feel making an effort is a huge part of making them feel somewhat normal. Tending to your appearance, whether that's through makeup, hair or clothing, can often give a person living with an invisible illness a chance to escape from all the symptoms they're up against. Looking in the mirror to see glowing skin and shiny hair can work wonders for your confidence, especially when on the inside you feel horrible. As someone who lives with inflammatory bowel disease, I know firsthand what it's like to feel awful not just on the inside but on the outside too. Suffering with fatigue leaves me with dark circles around my eyes, and the lack of energy to do my hair. My skin is very acne-prone from the medication I have to take, and I am constantly suffering with bloating, meaning I often rely on support pants to get into jeans that at other stages are too big for me. My skin is pale, making me look washed out and exhausted, which most of the time, I am. This can make it feel as though even when an illness is invisible, it can still eat its way to the outside without actually showing off any symptoms that will convince others you aren't making your illness up. And this destroys your confidence. It's bad enough feeling ill when nobody believes you, but to look in the mirror and see just how much the illness is affecting you physically can end up willing you to take it away completely. Of course, there's no taking away the illness, but for me, caring about my appearance has helped me feel like me again even when the illness doesn't want to let me. I color my hair because I like it to look vibrant, helping me look radiant even if I don't feel it on the inside. Wearing foundation helps me forget about the steroid-inducing spots. Concealing my dark circles and applying eye makeup helps me feel as though I look awake even if I'm 2 seconds away from falling asleep. All in all, not letting my entire body succumb to my illness gives me some sort of control over it. I can let it get away with making me poorly on the inside, but it's up to me as to how I'd like to look on the outside. Obviously, as mentioned earlier, this can hinder a few things and make insisting you're unwell harder. People still seem to think that if you are unwell, you have to look sick. How can you be sick if your hair is so long and freshly colored? How can you be sick if your skin is glowing? How can you be sick if you had enough time this morning to put on some red lipstick? I'm not going to say I don't understand this mindset, because I do. We've become so used to seeing sick as one thing, people who are visibly poorly. Even people without a chronic illness look poorly when they have the flu, so I understand that people may find it hard to believe that someone can make an effort with their appearance when they are sick all of the time. But that's exactly the point, we're sick all of the time. Which means we don't get a chance to be perked back up from ill health and feel ready to focus on our appearance again after a bout of ill health. We just have to focus on it whenever we have the energy to do so. It's important to remember that not everyone who is sick on the inside will reflect that on the outside, or will try not to. When a person lives with an illness 247, it can be so rewarding to look in the mirror and see themselves as visibly healthy, and to forget about how they feel on the inside. But while it's nice for them to forget, it's not nice to not be believed. I'm not saying you should look at every healthy-looking person and imagine they're sick. I'm not saying you should compliment someone who lives with an invisible illness, especially if you don't even realize they have one. What I am asking, however, is that if someone confides in you about their illness, you don't take away from it or force someone to convince you of it just because they've made an effort to look healthy on the outside. Let that person just feel good for once, and don't make them feel as though they can't do that, just to stop you from doubting them. More the importance of having a partner who understands your invisible illness. More why it's so important to speak freely about your invisible illness.